I broke my back.
What do you mean by that?
My back is broken.
What do you mean, calm it down? It's a fight. Referees telling two fighters who want to fight to calm it down? He should calm down.
So he's like a clown in his show, man. He's not your guy.
Tyson Fury's back, and all you motherfuckers are under attack. Look, Eddie Hearn can say all what he wants. Who gives a shit what Eddie Hearn says? It's garbage.
Are you off your tits? Have you been smoking something?
Can you let me retire and be happy? Please, just please.
Bombs away from the bronze bomber!
Water! Let's go, baby! Let's go! I'm through. They put somebody else up and give me an interview. What are you talking about? You never give me a fair shake. HBO needs to fire you. You don't know shit about boxing. You ain't shit. You're not shit. I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
I got dropped, man. Are you kidding?
No, you won the fight.
OMG. I am so excited.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. Hello, MCR family. It's a post-fight show, and this is possibly one of the toughest post-fight shows we are going to do in our history of our outlet, because holy shit, was that Garcia Redkach card atrocious. God, it was so bad. You know, me and Gary were talking off mic, and I think it was Thursday, right? It was Wednesday was the Jason Quigley card, and we were making fun of that card, saying that was the worst card of the year, and it's only in January. Ladies and gentlemen, there's already competition for that award. So much to get into in this Danny Garcia Ivan Redkach card on PBC on Showtime. A lot to get into. Most of it's not good though, unfortunately. But hey, this is boxing. I'm Matt the Hipster Hunter. Hit that like button, show the show, all that fun stuff. And like I said, I'm joined as usual on these shows by the one and only Gary in Dallas. Gary, what's up, man?
Man, I wasn't expecting much, but that was atrocious. I mean, could you imagine if you spent your hard-earned money on that? Like, imagine you live in New York City.
You're a Danny Garcia fan.
And you take a subway in. It's crowded on Saturday night. You give up your Saturday night. I want to go watch this fight. I'm sure those tickets weren't cheap. You get there and you get 3 hours of that. Man, just brutal. Like even the cards they streamed on Showtime, on the Showtime YouTube thing, those were awful too. And then my boy Clay Burns, who trains out in Fort Worth, was supposed to fight
Patrick Harris.
Yeah, and I don't know.
Who's a really good prospect too. I wanted to see that fight, and they bumped it to a post slim that's off TV.
We could watch
30 minutes of, hey, I love Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell, but 30 minutes of Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell talking about how Ivan Redkach has been doing X, Y, and Z for this fight. And yeah.
How do you bite and then you're still allowed to continue? Like, I don't it's not like the Maidana thing where he bit Floyd on the hand because he thinks Floyd was trying to like smother him. He just bit him on the shoulder for the hell of it. That means you don't want to fight, right? So then you should be disqualified. Like, it was like in the World Series back in 2000 when Roger Clemens threw the bat at Mike Piazza. And it's like, okay, if you throw another bat at Mike Piazza, you're ejected. No, you're done. This is over. Like, you don't get a second chance to do that, right? Like, you bit someone. And he clearly bit him. And there's a bite mark on him. And Angel's like, he bit him.
Did you hear what Danny said in the post-fight interview about the bite?
No.
Oh my God. So he said, when Ivan Redkach bit him, Ivan Redkach said, Mike Tyson, as he bit him. Look, this is one of those cards that's so bad it almost becomes comedy and fun. You know what I get? Like it almost becomes a meme of itself. God, this is bad. Like we're gonna get to the Stephen Fulton Arnold high guy fight because that was the only notable fight on the card. But I mean, what do we have to say about Danny's performance here against Ivan Redkach? I mean, yeah, Ivan Redkach looked very good against Devin Alexander. I think overall looked a lot better at 147 than he did at lightweight. But regardless, this shouldn't have went 12 rounds. Danny landed some of his best shots that he could have thrown on Redkach, and they didn't have the desired effect. I mean, what do we make of this performance from Danny Garcia in this main event? Because really the only notable thing was that he got bit, and the dude said Mike Tyson as he bit him, which is so meta. I can't even begin to describe how meta that is of Ivan Redkach. But Gary, like, thoughts on Danny Garcia's performance? Like, any takeaways from it, or can we have takeaways from it? I don't know.
When I went to Hipster, the Jets used to have their practice facility there, right? And every Friday they would do walkthroughs, right? Like, you don't have a real practice, you just have walkthroughs. They had it gated off, but from the high-rise dorms, you could stand in it and you could see overhead the Jets do their walkthroughs. Danny Garcia looked like he was doing a walkthrough. It's like, okay, this is what I'm going to do in a real fight. I'm being serious. I mean, like, he looked like he wanted to load up on a right hand. Like, it looked like when he wanted Redkach to go downstairs, and when he did, he wanted to land that sweeping right hand that he kept loading up on. Except Redkach didn't really cooperate, so Garcia's like, okay, I'll just win the rounds. Like, he just looked unmotivated. I don't think it was bad, because up until the last 2 rounds, he never really got hit. Like, I just think it was, like, unmotivated, like, weak effort, bro.
It's going to be the analysis of this performance is very different than the one we're going to talk about in the co-main event with Jared Hurd. With this one, it, like you said, unmotivated. I will say this: in the first 5 rounds or so, Danny wasn't being efficient with the shots. He was not that he wasn't landing shots, but they weren't landing flush. And Redkach was doing a very decent job of, putting that right shoulder up to block that left hook. He was doing just little things to upset the accuracy of Danny's shots. And I think Danny overall is not the most accurate puncher because he closes his eyes a lot in combinations. Just certain things he does that makes him inaccurate. And Redkach, being kind of a spoiler in a sense, was able to take these shots well and plus roll with these shots quite well. And like you said, Danny became really content with just, okay, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I'm winning rounds. I'm good to go. He's not going out here with these shots. I'm fine with just sort of in cruise control here, winning all these rounds by 10-9. I will say this to spice up the conversation a little bit. Do you think if this was Adonis Ugas, Sergey Lipinets, Terrence Crawford, start naming Jamal James, top 15 guys, would Danny Garcia have A, won this fight tonight, or B, have looked good?
He looks so unmotivated. It's so hard to tell. You could see he was just going to win the fight on class. I don't know. Could he have this performance and beat those top 5 or 6 guys, the other 6 guys at one point?
Whoa, Gary, bring your mic to you.
We're good now.
What did it do to you? Relax. I know the fight's got you angry. You don't need to be hitting your mic. Back to Danny's shit performance.
No, I mean, it was. He fought down to the level of his opposition. He would have to be more accurate. Like I said, I thought he was looking to end the fight with one right hand. Like, it looked like he saw something. When Redkach goes down to my body, I can land this right hand. But then Redkach stopped going to the body and stopped cooperating. So it was like, the hell with this. I don't want to. It's like when you want to discipline your kid, but you still want to sit in your recliner. It's like,
no, yeah.
Forget it.
You're over there across the room. I'm over it. I get it. Trust me. I 100% understand that. They were mentioned on the broadcast a lot, the Manny Pacquiao fight in the summer. They did mention Earl Spence, but that seemed to be a secondary choice from the network's perspective or PBC's perspective or whoever was in their ears of the commentators in terms of narratives and talking points. But do you want to see a Manny Pacquiao Danny Garcia fight in July, June, whenever it may be? Is that an appealing fight to you coming off of this performance?
This performance, I'm just going to take this and throw it away. Really, it was a walkthrough. I'm not going to. And it's rough because we don't get much sample size with. He doesn't fight much anymore. Now, he hasn't fought a lot since the Thurman loss, right? Like, he fought Rios, and he took Rios out with a one-punch knockout. Then he lost to Porter, and then he beat Granados, and I don't count this fight. This fight was stupid, right?
Agreed. Super chat. Andre Diakono saying Espinoza drinking Johnny Walker straight piss off that PBC, playing with him and the network. Tonight looked like a showbox card. I need my 3 hours back. If you're watching the prelims, it's like 6 hours back, but that's beside the point. I think a Pacquiao Garcia fight is a completely serviceable fight. I think it's a fight that I probably favor Manny Pacquiao to win, to be quite honest. And it's clearly one of those guys, like, you know, you were mentioning it earlier on another show, maybe a week ago or this week, I forget, about Pacquiao and trying to get that McGregor fight, and Pacquiao having that Thurman fight in the bag and maybe not needing to fight any more guys in this generation. Danny Garcia is one of those guys in this generation. He can pick probably an easy win off of, air quotes, easy win off of, and again, sort of add to his resume and legacy, saying, I beat this current generation when I was 40 years old. I see him doing that. And if it's not Danny, it's Mikey. You know, I don't see Pacquiao fighting Spence. And also, I see the way that the network was framing the discussion of Spence is probably going to face a tune-up. I'm 100% assuming now Spence is facing a tune-up in the summer, which he deserves. I mean, look at that car crash.
He does. But what happens when Pacquiao, and you said it already, what happens when Pacquiao fights McGregor in May or June? What happens then? Then Danny has to hope for a Spence fight or wait till the very end of the year.
True. But maybe we don't get the Pacquiao McGregor fight because, I mean, the loopholes to get that one done is far more than a Pacquiao Danny Garcia fight for Pacquiao's last PBC fight. You know, like in that context, I see it. I see probably a Pacquiao Danny Garcia fight in July.
And again, I'd rather see Spence. I'd rather see a Thurman rematch, or I'd rather see Crawford. But he's not going to fight those fights. So it's either Mikey or Danny, and those fights are fine. I mean, they're fine. Garcia is a Hall of Famer, so you have. I think we could probably debate that, but compare his career to Meldrick Taylor. Is Meldrick Taylor in the Hall of Fame? He's got to be, right? Like his career.
I don't know about that.
It is. It's great.
But regardless,
I don't want to have the Danny Garcia Hall of Fame debate. It's a good
off of this performance, man. Come on.
Just for this, he's not.
Have some self-awareness, Gary.
It was. I don't know that Pacquiao at 41 beats Garcia, but Garcia's got to do better than this. You know, look, I understand people fight down to their level of opposition, and he clearly wasn't motivated, but you got to give a better effort than this, Danny Garcia. And I think he can beat Pacquiao, not that he necessarily would. But like if Pacquiao comes after him, Danny's a good counterpuncher. He could certainly land and hurt him. Like I wouldn't count Garcia out. I don't know who off the top of my head I'd pick in that fight, but I could see either guy winning that fight. That's a 50-50 fight to me.
Maybe. I see Pacquiao probably being like a 60-40, 70-30 favorite in that fight, to be quite honest. I mean, he beat Keith Thurman, who beat Danny, and Danny, in my opinion, has looked a B+ fighter, and that's no disrespect to him, but that's just kind of how he looks. He looks like a B+ fighter. And B+ fighter in the welterweight division can be a perennial top 7 and 8 guy. But let's not get twisted. If he fought Ugas, Lipinets, Jamal James, Apikadorov, other guys tonight, he may and most likely doesn't walk away with the win. That's how lackluster he looked here.
It wasn't his finest moment.
No.
But like if Keith Thurman fought Pacquiao again, if they fought again in a couple of months, who would you pick in a rematch?
Pacquiao.
I would take Thurman. I think Thurman figured it out. He just fell too far behind and ran out of rounds. Like I thought if they fight again, Thurman beats him.
He still has to deal with the first 6 rounds of Pacquiao when he's fresh. That's a difficult person to deal with. But moving on, because look, there's no reason for us to talk about Danny Garcia, Ivan Redkach for an hour. Moving on to the co-main event. Another one of those fights we probably shouldn't spend too much time on, but I feel a lot of rants coming on. Jarrett Hurd defeating Francisco Santana via unanimous decision, right? I think it was unanimous.
It had to be. Yeah, I can't see something.
There was one scorecard I think that had it 6-4 though, right?
7-3, which was
Boxer hasn't updated yet, so I forget what the scorecards were.
It was maybe the 9th where Hurd did absolutely nothing. But you ran first. I'll rant second.
Where to begin? There's so many places to go and so many different angles to take. I'll say this. Obviously, Heard with the layoff, new trainer, he wanted to add wrinkles to his game. Respect that. I understand that. The problem is you're doing that as a completely made fighter coming off a huge loss that definitely mentally shook you up, obviously. And secondly, you're already sort of a finished product to a degree. And I want to make a clear distinction here because we talk about like Manny Pacquiao having a career renaissance and sort of fine-tuning his game. But Manny Pacquiao's style is still the same. He just went from 100% to 60% in terms of volume. That's all he did to switch up his game and become more defensively sound. He didn't add new technique. He didn't have to like create head movement out of nowhere. You know, he didn't have to become a completely different fighter to fine-tune his game to adapt to the new sort of landscape. Jarrett Hurd has to add massive wrinkles to his game after he's already been a unified champion. That's a very hard thing to do. You know, we ask young prospects to do that when they're young and they have time to build up and improve, right? Ryan Garcia, Hector Tanajara. There's a lot of guys we can talk about that are young, improving, and they have time to make those improvements. They're not a finished product yet. Jarrett Hurd is a finished product. And to try to make him become a guy that he clearly is not, which is a counter boxer, makes zero sense. He got touched up by Francisco Santana and allowed Santana to bully him around for large aspects of this fight. For most of the rounds. Now, his jab, that right hand he kept slapping Santana with, probably won him most of the rounds, obviously. But look, if you weren't having like a real serious side of this fight, Hurd did not look good here at all. He landed, 8% of his jabs? He threw 300 jabs, landed 20. Like, you're not that guy. And on top of it, when we saw in the 9th and 10th round, the final 2 rounds, when he all of a sudden realized, hey, I'm just going to walk this guy down because he's a fucking welterweight and put combinations on him and be my old self and I'm going to get him out of here, he almost did. Imagine if he did that in round 1. We would have been done with this fight by round 4 and 5 like I predicted. But no, he wanted to be the new Mayweather up there and shoulder roll with Francisco Santana when he's never been that guy in his life. I just don't understand it. You know, and Gary, I think you talked about it in the preview show, how mentally damaging that Williams fight was to Jarrett Hurd and how you were really questioning his mental space going forward. Oh my God, you're right. Holy shit. I don't know really what to think of Jarrett Hurd moving forward. This was a atrocious performance in every level. And so much more so than the Danny Garcia fight. Because like we said, Danny Garcia was largely controlling just landing combinations in that will all 12 rounds. You know, like Redkach didn't win a single round. Santana won some rounds. On top of that, was laying hands on Jarrett Hurd. Not when Jarrett Hurd was being the aggressor and having, you know, no defense because that's what he is. And that's fine. You can be that guy. No, it's when he was trying to be the defensive guy, he was getting touched up. When he was trying to implement the Philly shell and this head movement that he's never had before, he got touched up. Huge red flag moving forward, in my opinion, for Jarrett Hurd. Gary, am I too harsh on Hurd's performance here against Francisco Santana, a welterweight that was a hand-picked opponent in a showcase fight?
That was ridiculous, right? Like, that was absurd. Here's what I would say, right? He's trying out new things. That should have been done in a sparring session. There was no reason to pay him for this. This should have taken place in a gym in DC or wherever Hurd is from. Like, this is what it reminded me of, right? And I don't know if anyone out here played varsity sports, but like, I played varsity baseball, and every year before the season started, like, the varsity would play the JV.
For those in the UK, that'd be like, if you're on like your local like school team or uni team, and you're the top, you're the starting player, so to speak. But back to you, Gary. Just want to make a metaphor for
So you'd play him for 2 innings, and you'd be up 7-0, and then you'd bring your second baseman into pitch. You'd put your fat first baseman somewhere in the field where he says he could play, right? And then as a batter, you just load up on every single pitch. You try to hit everything out of the park. It's like, okay, this isn't real. Like, because everyone on our team is literally better than everyone on their team. Their best player.
Talk to the mic.
Their best player is worse than our worst player, right? Like, because if he was any better, he'd be on varsity, but he's not. So he's on JV, right? So we could just toy with that. And like Hurt, like, so we just do things, right? Like, I'm gonna try to.
It was playing the practice squad.
Playing the practice squad, is playing the JV. This was ridiculous. Like, so you don't need to be paid for this. If I'm PBC, I'm furious. Like, go in there and destroy him. But like, is this what Hurt thinks he has to do now, or is this Hurt just having a good laugh, like the varsity versus JV game? Because he can't fight that way. Like, do you think he can fight any of Castano or Laura or Jamal Charlo or Rosario? No, he can't.
No.
Fight like this again. So what was the purpose of this? Right? This was him having a good time, but like, then have a good time in your basement with a bottle of lotion. Don't do it on my money, right? Like, don't do it on my time. That was ridiculous, right? Like, if you want to play with yourself, you do it in your own space. Like, this was stupid. Do you think he's really gonna fight a top-notch 154-pounder? And if he is, don't get in the ring. Right? Like, if all of a sudden you think you're going to shoulder roll and pull counter, like, are you kidding me? Like, I mean, it was so bad. And then you're fighting a welterweight when you're the biggest junior middleweight I've ever seen, and you're letting him walk you backwards? Like,
when your style is to be the volume, swarmer, aggressive fighter.
What would happen if he let Rosario or Castano walk him down? It'd be over. He'd be knocked out. Like, if he fought that fight against Castano, he's getting knocked out.
Against a lot of guys. Teixeira even, right? Like, he loses to a lot of guys. Lubin, Adames, like his performance tonight was that bad. And I know layoff, new trainer, I get it. I get the excuses, but look, when you're supposed to have a showcase fight, okay, you're supposed to showcase yourself. And this wasn't it. You know, there was a moment in the round, I think it was like the 5th or 6th round, I forget when it was exactly. And Hurd like just threw like a right hand, landed, and then he just like button mashed that for the next 30 seconds. Just threw the same fucking right hand, and it was like a slapping right hand too. Didn't put any effort like in like twisting his body, rotating his waist, nothing, right? Just you just stand there, bop, slap, 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 slap. Oh, you're gonna get close to me, smother me, hit me a bunch of times. Okay, I'm gonna push you up. Slap, slap. I mean, miss a bunch of jabs. It was so bad. And I'll be honest. I know he thought he had a good performance. Or at least he said that. There was no way he thinks that. He had it looked like he had a broken nose in the fight, for fuck's sake. Like, no, like this was, I think it was Morrow or Paulie. It was Paulie. Because Morrow was really hating on this fight and Danny's fight. Shout out to Mauro Ranallo on that. I mean, keeping objective. But even Paulie was like, look, an honest sake, this should be a non-televised fight. And back if we were back in the 80s, this would be a non-televised fight on like a Mike Tyson card, something like that. You know, to allow him to get the reps in, but away from all the eyes. But in today's era, you just can't do that. Because he's going to ask for $300,000, $400,000 to fight. And there's no way you can pay him that off TV, because that would make no sense. And I agree with that. Like, Hurd seems like a guy that he needs to hit the reset button to a significant degree. Again, I don't know what... I wanted to see so much from Jarrett Hurd, and it wasn't him being all of a sudden a defensive wizard, air quotes. It was him to fine-tune his aggression, right? That's what he needed to do. He needed to figure out how to be a better boxer puncher, a better aggressive volume swarmer, not to be something that's the antithetical to that. That's not what he should have done. That's so hard to do when you're 29 years old, 28 years old. I forget how old Jarrett Hurd is. When you've already been a unified champion, you can't do that. You know, you can't teach old dog new tricks. You can't do that with a guy like Jarrett Hurd, especially that much of a style shift. I wanted to see Hurd come in here with really tight combinations. I wanted him to come in here and really slip under a jab and press on the inside, have more head movement going forward than backwards. Add defensive wrinkles to your game in the style that you already have, the aggressor, not the defensive boxer. That's just too hard to do. I don't know what I want to see from Jarrett Hurd next, because I don't think he beats anyone in the top 10 right now. I mean,
not off of that. I mean, look, I'm fine. You want to go to a new camp, get a new trainer, and fine tune some things. That's fine. You're 29 years old now. You want to be Stephen Fulton. It's like, what the hell's going on here? Like, it was like the Yankees had this pitcher named Jobber Chamberlain back in the day, right? And they came up, he throws 101 miles an hour. He's got a slider that breaks into you, and you couldn't hit him. They're like, I got a great idea. Let's make him a starting pitcher. He's absolutely unhittable out of the bullpen. Let's make him a starter. And it's like, okay, we're going to have him pitch 3 innings every 7 days, and then we'll use it for 1 inning out of the bullpen in between. It's like, and then they ruined him, right? Like, Hurd has something unique with that size and that gas tank where he can walk you down and break you. Now you want to change him? Now you want to take your lights out closer and try, okay, well, let's just make him a starting. No, that's not what he is, right? Like, this is ridiculous. He can't beat anyone of any note fighting the way that he did. He was.
If you're playing like international football, obviously, like imagine being like one of the best forwards in the game, and all of a sudden, like, hey, you're gonna be a goalie. It's like, no,
I don't play goalie. Well, you're gonna play goalie now.
Yeah. The last game, they really figured you out. So we're just gonna change your entire position to the opposite position. That's the mindset here.
I knew
that's the wrong mindset.
It seemed to me that J-Rock got in his head. I didn't know he got in his head like this. He needs a sports psychologist. He may need a year away from the sport and just you need to get right, because you can't fight a high-level opposition like this. You're going to get your head taken. Like, unless he thought this was a joke, unless he thought this was the varsity versus JV game where we're going to have our second baseman pitch and our fat first baseman play.
I don't believe that because he got touched up too much. Like that, like with Danny, I can be like, yeah, he thought it was, a practice fight, and like it's obvious that. But with this fight, no. By round 4 or 5, he needed to switch it up instantly, to be quite honest. But by round 4 or 5, he should have realized, oh shit, why am I doing this right now? Like I know this coach I just paid for, and he like made me not fight Williams again and all this stuff. So like I gotta trust him. But look, sorry, coach. This guy's pressing me, and he's hitting me and breaking my nose. I can just walk him down and land a 10-piece, as I usually do with every other fight, and put this guy away. He's begging to be put away. Let me put him away. And this guy's like, no, just hold off. Work the jab. No, man, that's just not him. Work the jab going forward, not backwards.
If you wanted to teach him, he should have taught him when he was 15, right?
Yes. Or hell, if you're 19 and you want to, switch up your game a lot, that's fine, to be honest. I'm okay with that. When you're 28 and you've already been a unified champion, you're in the middle of your prime, to switch up your style to 180-degree angle. You can't do that. No one's done that successfully in history. I can't think of one person that's ever done that.
It would have been like when Shaq got to Lakers, Phil Jackson said, I know you're a beast down low, but we're going to move you out. We're going to have you become a 3-point shooter. It's like, I'm pretty good at what I do. Why don't we just work on what I do well?
And also, I really suck at that thing you want me to do. So
you want me to shoot 3-pointers?
Let's not do the thing I really suck at. Let's just help me get better at the thing I'm really good at.
I don't know what you think you're going to do with Jarrett, but Jarrett Hurd is what he is, right? He's a one-dimensional fighter. Work with him in that sense, right? Like,
quickly, Dwayne saying, great show, guys, really, but tonight's fights suck. I'm going to sleep. Have a good night. No, you got to stay on, Dwayne, because we are going to talk about Stephen Fulton, Arnold Higai, and that was a really good fight with a lot of interesting things to talk about, and we will get to it, I promise, soon.
Like Ronnie Shields became a famous trainer for working with Pernell Whitaker. He also trained Toro Gatti. He didn't try to make a Toro Gatti Pernell Whitaker. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is not one size fits all where every fighter needs to fight the same blueprint.
I mean, fuck, look at Eddie Renesso and look at all of his different guys. Julio Cesar Martinez, Ryan Garcia, Canelo. All three of those guys fight very different styles, very different sort of strategic goal you want for them respectively. No, I this was just bad coaching, bad thought process throughout. Like I'm done ranting about Jared Hurd because this was one of the worst performances in his career. Obviously, probably the worst performance of his career.
Yeah.
And even more so than his loss to J-Rock, which is crazy to think about, but it is. Let's go to a fight, though, that I think, both have a lot of maybe different takes about, but we can probably both agree on was a really interesting and good fight. Stephen Fulton defeating Arnold Higai. I think it was a unanimous decision, right? Was it unanimous? Yeah. Really, really interesting fight because one of those performances and overall fight where my opinion doesn't really shift moving forward. If anything, it just becomes more solidified. But you clearly see that Stephen Fulton has promise. And what I mean by my first statement is that I've never thought Stephen Fulton is a top 10, 15 guy right now. I still don't think that. However, clearly he is skilled enough and promising enough that he can get there. I just think he needs a few more tune-ups at this level before fighting, not tune-ups, I should say, but just step-up fights, get ready fights for those top 15, that elite class. And maybe even start fighting that like borderline top 15 guy like a Ronnie Rios that we talked about, I think, on the previous show. I think he's probably possibly ready for that step up to a degree. That's a slight step up. But he still has a long ways to go before fighting those top 5 guys. His lack of inside game, offensively speaking, when it comes to just combinations, when it comes to throwing shots, throwing punches, was severely lacking in this fight. And I should say it was severely lacking in the first 2/3 of the fight because the last, let's say, 3 or 4 rounds, I thought he had a lot of success on the inside with an uppercut, but that's beside the point. I think Stephen Fulton's a guy that if he starts adding, I'm trying to think of a comparison for him that would make sense. His issue with the inside game was that he was so ready to tie up that he never tried to get off angles and throw combinations. And I think he's talented enough to do that. And I think that's an experience thing that he just needs to start doing that. If it just a comfort thing more so, you know what I get? Because there's moments where Higai was pressing him, or large moments in this fight, and Fulton really struggled with that pressure. Again, thought he did really good work on the outside. Thought he did really good work controlling the range. And the last third of the fight, when he was trying to press the action and Higai started falling off in cardio perspective, his work coming forward was really impressive. And linking it to another prospect we were talking about, I think a few weeks ago, Chris Colbert, all of a sudden being an aggressive fighter against Jezreel Corrales. Really cool sign to see an improvement in his game, an aspect of his game we've never seen before. Similar in that last 3 or 4 rounds with Stephen Fulton, him being the aggressor, that big guy for the division, it seemed, for at least against Higai. That was impressive to see. I want to see more of Fulton being the aggressor and pushing guys off using his size if he can. Maybe not with those top guys, but when he can, there's moments he can absolutely be successful being the offensive aggressor, actually, more so than the defensive fighter. But Gary, thoughts on Fulton's performance here against Arnold Higai? That was the opener for the Showtime telecast.
I have a couple of thoughts on it, right? First, I think it was a good performance. He did what he had to do. I had him winning, I think, 8 or 9 rounds. I think I had him winning 9 rounds. I had him winning wide. He did what he had to do. He won most of the rounds. And I'm still going to call him K-Guy. Hi Guy. Higai is a tough guy. He's a good fighter on the inside. He does some things well. Mm-hmm. He's not at a world level. He's not. He's a guy that you should be able to beat on your way up.
Yes.
And
he's a Joet Gonzalez.
I think Joet Gonzalez still has some skills.
Stop. He doesn't.
And I had Fulton. I had him in my top 15 for sure. I may have had him right around number 10 on my list at 122. I don't know. I had him in my 15 for sure. I don't know if I had him in the top 10. I don't think I did. I think he was right outside, like maybe 11. But like I was obviously really high on him. The skills are there. I don't think he likes when people put pressure on him. You saw that in his last fight on the Figueroa card in the Valley in South Texas. Like he was fighting a Mexican who was out of his league, but the Mexican fighter was an aggressive, come forward fighter, and he never seemed comfortable. He got him out with a body shot, but like you could see, he didn't like the pressure. He didn't like somebody being up in his kitchen. That was on full display today. He was trying to hold a lot. I thought he boxed beautifully for the first 3 rounds, and then he got a couple of, strong, stern warnings to stop holding. And then when he had to fight him on the inside, he could do it, but it's not his.
It's a comfort thing. It has to be a comfort thing, right? Because I think he can do it. There's technique there. Like his uppercut in those last few rounds was really good. And if he added like a left hook, right cross after that uppercut, like, he just needs to add a few things. If he adds a good left hook, maybe a double left hook to the body, just there's certain things he can add, and not necessarily add, but be more comfortable throwing. And he would be really, really efficient on the inside, more so than we saw tonight, in my opinion. He just needs the experience. He's young.
I don't think he likes to be out of his comfort zone. And if he doesn't like stepping out of his comfort zone, he's in the wrong division with pressure fighters, right? Because like Seha would beat him right now because Seha would make his life difficult, right? And he doesn't like being uncomfortable. I thought the performance was fine. I'm just saying, like, he may not have the intangibles to make him a world champion. I think the performance was good, so I'm going to give him a B+ for his performance, but I'm seeing ceilings on this guy unless he can change things.
No, Gary, I agree with you, and I feel like you're actually coming around to where my position is, that Fulton's good, but like you were really high on him. You thought he could beat Ray Vargas. You thought he could beat certain guys at the top already. That's just not true. He needs time, and that's fine. Like, look, he's a guy also that this is probably his best opponent to date, and still an untested prospect he fought. You know what I mean? Like,
Poor Josh Greer, but that was 4 fights into their career.
I don't count that, to be honest. I really don't, because they were both so green in the game. And plus, I wouldn't count Greer as like that veteran top 15 guy, maybe a former champion that I'm looking for prospects to beat. You know, like Figueroa has an Oscar Escandón and Moises Flores on his resume. Those are former top 10 guys, perennial top 10 guys, title contenders. They're veterans. Like that has material sort of effect on a resume, in my opinion. That gives it weight and depth. Beating a bunch of unknown guys, even if they're undefeated prospects, doesn't really add any depth or substance to a resume, in my opinion.
Right, because I'll just say that prospect wasn't any good, right? Like he beat Adam Lopez when they're both 8-0.
Yeah,
Adam Lopez is good, but Adam Lopez isn't going to beat anyone who's good. If you're good, you beat Adam Lopez. If you're not, then he might beat you. But that's like, you know what I'm saying? So
Adam Lopez was 8-0.
Yeah,
and like he was on the same placement as Stephen Fulton, so beating him doesn't really prove that he's ready at the top 10 because he didn't beat a top 10 guy. He beat a guy that was at his placement still. Same with Higai. And that's like my one issue with this fight is that it was sort of the same still for Stephen Fulton in terms of competition level. And I'm not saying we didn't see improvements in this fight because we did see some minor improvements, but we didn't see the leaps and bounds and improvement that you want to see from a prospect to make him go, oh yeah, he can fight a top 5 guy right now. And it's not out of the question. Other guys are just far more proven. Even guys like Figueroa, I think, is far more proven in this division than Stephen Fulton. I don't think that's really a hot take, even though I had a boxing writer on Twitter disagree with me about that. But hey, it is what it is. Gary, I mean, what do you want next for Stephen Fulton?
I was going to ask you that same question. Seha, would you make that fight? It might be a dangerous fight, but like you got to test him, right? Like Chucky Flores, he should win that fight. I mean, is that a name that you want? Do you want something better than that? Who would you put him in the ring with?
Ronnie Rios is a name I mentioned. A name that it doesn't really make sense because it's sort of the same issue with Higai, though I think this person's a lot better. Angelo Leo. I mean, he looked fantastic on that on the Badu Jack Pascal card, right? Who did he? Cesar Juarez, right? He beat Cesar Juarez. That was a really good fight, really good win for Angelo Leo. But he's sort of in the same boat as Fulton. He needs to step up against a known commodity to a degree. Ronnie Rios, Gavin McDonald, Shingo Wake, Tomiki Kameda. Who else do we have? Ryuso, Iwasa. Who else? I said Gavin McDonald, right? Yeah. Those would be the guys that I would mention. Those are former either champions, title contenders, perennial top 15, 20 guys. I would make that fight. Somebody saying Akmandilia versus Fulton, but Akmandilia is fighting Rahman next. So that makes no sense.
Ronnie Rios is a tough fight for him. I mean, he should be able to get by on Ronnie Rios on skill and athleticism, but I don't know. Like Ronnie Rios may beat him up and break him down.
It's a really good test. That's why I want to see it. You know, because this is one of those fights with the guy that hopefully in the next fight, if he takes on a guy that has a similar skill set and style, he should be a lot better with dealing with it. Right? That's the thought process. If he goes fights with Ronnie Rios, who's another aggressive, a little bit of a sloppy boxer puncher like a Higai, but just obviously more established, more of a veteran, beating more guys, lost to some more guys as well. But if we see Fulton dealing with that pressure in a more efficient way, then that's a good sign. That's what we want to see. But we need to see that. We need to see that matchup. You know, we need to see that look again. Because I think he, like you said, he has been having an issue with pressure. He is not comfortable on the inside, and he needs to start getting a little more comfortable on the inside. And it's not about holding or not holding. Also, if you look at a guy like Shakur Stevenson, the composure he has on the inside, even when he's like grappling and holding and sort of working for an angle, it's like I said, composure. He is composed while doing it. Fulton in this fight and others, you can tell there's anxiety in his movement. There's an erratic nature to his movement on the inside, trying to get away from any sort of combination, trying to tie up. And that's when you can sort of see from the body language, even though it's, I know not much to say, it's just eye test, that there's that uncomfortable factor with Stephen Fulton. Anything else you want to talk about with this fight, or honestly the rest of the card, Gary?
No, even the two preliminary fights on the streaming app were not. Really
Lorenzo Simpson picked up a win. Keyshawn Williams picked up a win. I didn't really see the Keyshawn Williams fight. I saw the Lorenzo Simpson fight. That guy needs a lot of work. But he's young. He's like 19. Like he has a lot of time in the world. The comparisons to Gervonta Davis definitely need to stop, though. Like just stop doing that. I know he sparred with them a lot, and he kind of does some same shots that look the same, but there's a different level of prospect there, in my opinion. Gervonta Davis was clearly going to be somebody at a very early stage. Lorenzo Simpson, I don't know about that yet. Sorry. Gary, is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
what, second worst card of the year so far?
Yeah, thanks to that Golden Boy card, this won't have to take that dishonor. It was Thor's big card of the year. I think it will definitely. Oh no, we have the other Showtime card, the Lucas Brown fight.
No.
Lucas Brown versus
This year? Lucas Brown did not fight this year.
We got the one coming up. I'm talking about Lucas Brown versus Otto Valine. That's coming up. That should win for worst card.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying now. That should probably win. That, yes.
The action can't be worse though. The action in that fight can't be worse than this.
Ugas Mike Dallas in Biloxi. That should be a red hot card right there on FS1. But guys, that's gonna be it for tonight's show. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I hope everyone's had a fantastic night, even with the fights that we had. Stay safe out there. Find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, on all social media platforms. Gary.
Absolutely awful, dreadful night of boxing, an awful week of boxing. Next week should be better, though. I guess. Maybe not. I guess not.
Don't jinx that. Don't jinx that, Gary. What is next week?
It was supposed to be the fight in China, but that got canceled.
That would have been a good fight, though.
then there's the Ugas fight. I feel there's one more card. I don't know.
It's the Andrade card, isn't it?
Oh, the Andrade card. Yes, it's on Thursday. Yeah.
At least we have Farmer Diaz, Roman Akhmadiliev. Those are good fights. I'm excited for those 2 fights. The rest,
Jarrett Hurd was doing his Demetrius Andrade impersonation.
have a good night. Peace.